Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the channel with Antigonus Gaming. This is Metroid Prime Remaster on Nintendo Switch. Metroid is a property of Nintendo. On the last video we did, we got the gravity suit in Phendrana, picked up a couple artifacts, but I got a game over right at the end, so we're having to redo some of the space pirate base in the Phazon mines. We got all the way to the room we wanted to get into, but I had basically run out of health. Yeah, so I got a game over, and unfortunately, the save point that was down there that could have saved us. So in this case, I'm actually gonna scan the thing and turn off the auto turrets, so they just won't shoot at us now. So if you scan the panel that turns them off, it does. The only thing is in these rooms, the panel is always on the far end from where you are, so you're gonna take a little bit of damage. So there are the invisible pirates here. I think they're called shadow pirates, so we're going to go into the thermal visor here. We're back in that security room. It's like the two like U-shaped hallways in a row. The first floor has shadow pirates, and the second floor will have those wave pirates. Ice beam to the wave beam now. We're back in our regular combat visor. And we have to re-see the whole scene. Like, we don't save any of our progress from the last save we had to that game over, unfortunately. So we're gonna have to scan all the pirate lore again. So I'll just summarize those since I already read through them in the last one. So this is the Wave Trooper again. So these are the Wave Troopers that have the same technology, but they're weak to the wave beam. There's a flaw in their design. Now we got 3 of them on me at once. I imagine there are probably people that do challenge runs on this game where they do not pick up any extra HP, and they just go through the whole game with 99, and I do not know how anyone would do that. So yeah, so now we're back into the, okay, I think this is another hallway here. We'll take us to that room that has the big research tank that the first of the big Omega Pirates is in. This door is in the ceiling, actually, so we hit it with the ice beam. We've got regular space pirates here. We can take them out easily enough. Scan this one turns on the platform system. We can now go up to the second level. It's a new pirate data. This is about Project Helix. This is about the space pirates who were having the psychotic breakdowns, and then they said they discovered another strain of Phazon that's a little bit less potent, that leaves some of the mental faculties intact. Now we're up on the second level, and we're gonna go intercept these wave troopers. We gotta take both of them out. But they run in different directions, so through this hallway that's got walls, so there's like the whole middle section is walled off, except in the front and the back. And so they put up a barrier, and then they run around both sides, so if you go to intercept them, you can fight them one at a time, which makes you take way less damage. In the last video, I didn't do that because I actually fell off the platform, and so they were already rejoined when they. That means this one opens up the barrier, turns the platforms back on. Now we're gonna be able to go up to the 3rd level, which is the one with the like mining laser thing that I did. So just a security alert. Got a power trooper here. I have to scan him. And it's the same thing as the wave trooper. The black armor, but he's got the yellow shininess to him because he's a power trooper. And he's immune to everything except for power beam and super missile. So, and now we're going to use the morph ball spinner to turn the industrial strength laser around, the mining weapon. And we're going to go all the way around now because there's a missile expansion. Yep, there we go. Blows open the side on the left side of the... I think it's... Yeah, it's octagonal. So on the left side of the straight left side of the octagon, you can blow that section open and get the missile expansion. Now we're going to continue going down. The big discussion in the Nintendo forums a lot right now kind of feels like it's centered around obviously the Switch 2 release, but also just like 3D Mario and when that game's coming, because typically, okay, now we're in that room with the giant thing in the middle that has all the morph ball tracks with different colors on them. First things first, we're hit by a couple of power troopers. Take any HP they drop because we're gonna face even stronger enemies as we go further in. This is the one where you have to like line up the tracks, and there's 4 levels, and there's exits on the 3rd and 4th level. We're going to the 3rd level for now because we can't get to the 4th level, so we gotta use these devices, but the one that gets us up to the 4th level is blocked off by a bunch of rubble, which we can't blow up yet, because we haven't gotten the upgrade that we're currently going for right now. The Mario Anniversary is this year, and when you're talking about Nintendo, it's important. Oh, geez, I screwed this up. Okay, I forgot. I only turned the middle section, not the bottom. When you're talking about Nintendo, you have to realize that other than the holiday season, their year doesn't revolve around the same calendar as the standard 12-month calendar. Their year starts in April because their fiscal year runs from April to the end of the following March. So when you're looking at their schedule, that's why they tend to release a lot of games like at the end of June, and then again in like early October, and then obviously they follow the holiday calendar. That's a big time for buying games and toys and stuff. And then they also tend to release a lot of games in like March, just because they're trying to release something big at the end of each fiscal quarter. We're going down a morph ball track. There's bombs. They hit us. We fell down. Okay, we're scanning. We're going down through the 2nd level, the phase on mines. That's why we hear the elevator music. It's because we're going down to the elevator. We can see the inside of the crater here. There's like the temple structure is like floating almost in the air. And then you can see it through like a window as we go further and further in. I think Metroid Prime 4 is likely to be the like end of quarter 2 game, sometime in the end of the summer or the early fall. but we still don't yet know what the actual holiday title is. There's this Zelda Warriors game that's been announced for winter 25-26, but Warriors games are kind of niche. They don't sell that much. I mean, I think the Zelda Warriors games usually sold around like 3 to 4 million, and the Fire Emblem Warriors games sold around like 1 to 1.25. Closer to 1 for the Fire Emblem side. Okay, now we're back in that elite control room, and this is the one where we'll fight that elite pirate. The one with the big cannon on his back. He busts out of the lab, the tank, puts his hands on it, punches forward. Scan him again. Elite pirate, phase out enhanced space pirate. So he can absorb our beam weapons when his hand is up. It generates like an orange thing, and then he an electric like wave. So the easiest, but the thing is, these guys are slow, so you can actually stay away from him and not take any damage. As soon as he does this thing where he shoots the energy he absorbed out, you just hop over it. It's easy to dodge, and you stay away from it. At no point in this game do they ever make you face 2 of these guys at once. So as long as you just keep your distance, they're actually fairly easy to beat. You also never have to face them along with like other enemies. Alright, so now we're... Right, more pirate data. This is about Samus Aran chasing them from Zebus, saying that we want her to be tracked down. This is about them looking to get through the temple. They say they can't use any of their tools to tunnel around the magic of the Chozo lock. But they found out that there's some kind of creature living within the crater, and they want access to it. This is the one about them trying to reverse engineer the morph ball and saying that all of the people who tried it wound up with all of their bones being broken. So didn't exactly work out super well. But this is a tunnel that we can't go through, so we have to go up. There's steps. There should be ice troopers. Yep, ice troopers. Again, same thing. They got the black armor. They got like silvery, shiny plates on it because ice beam, and he drops a 100 energy thing. That's very helpful. These guys, you charge beam them, and then charge beam them again, and then they shatter. Could be one more ice cream. Yep. Fortunately, only one of them dropped anything. Let's see here. Do we have anything to scan on these computers? We do not. Little things we can scan. Most of it's like... A lot of the little things to scan aren't even like that interesting. It's just like them complaining about high casualties or like various things. This one is them saying that they have learned that the artifacts are like locks to are like keys to a lock that can open up the crater. This is the one them saying that they're just gonna like destroy all the Chozo ruins because they don't find any use in doing any of it. Complaining that the Chozo civilization is hindering their progress. So clearly a disregard. Space pirates clearly did not enjoy ancient history class. More pirate data. Been numerous incidents involving... Okay, this is the one where they're talking about being attacked by the Chozo ghosts that we read last time. This is more them talking about the containment field with the temple. They can't decipher the runes. This is the one where they're saying they can't read the Chozo language, so they don't know what any of it means. And then I just turned off the force field, which will allow me to advance to the next area. Clearly, Space Pirates failed Ancient History class. Alright, we're close to where we're at, and we have significantly more health. We're in a ventilation shaft. It's starting to spray out poisonous air. We'll be able to clean it out soon, but not quite yet. Got some wave troopers here. Power troopers on the, so now the lower level has energy tanks, or has tanks with the elite pirates in it. We got power troopers defending the lower level. Gotta activate a force field, deactivate a force field. We were able to take one of the 3 power troopers out from above with the missile, so pretty easily takes them out. So as we walk down, there's just all these tanks with all these varying elite pirates in them. They seem fine for now. New pirate data. Elite pirate Upsilion's propensity for phazon has enabled our research team to infuse it far beyond safety restrictions, and the results have been extremely encouraging. Its constant phazon diet has increased its mass exponentially, but it has retained all mental faculties and shows dexterity with elite weaponry, including plasma incendiary launchers and chameleon manta issued for cloaking purposes. Elite pirate Upsilon exhibits miraculous healing abilities. When injured, it seeks out phazon deposits and coats itself with the substance, which instantly mends the creature's wounds. The subject, which we are codenaming Omega Pirate based on these developments, shows potential to be a new standard for our armies. Our only concern at this point is its potential over-dependence. So it's almost like a drug. The things they infuse with phazon cannot survive without a lot of phazon. So now we jump down, we're walking through a small hallway, we see there's another elite pirate in a tank as we pass it by, but it's in stasis. Now we are in the central dynamo. So there's a thing that's shooting at us. You can shoot a super missile. Oh wow, I can't believe I didn't succeed in doing that before. Alright, so there's a big power up underneath this. So we're in the central dynamo, which powers the thing. There's this huge generator, and it had like 4 little things that are blocking these holes that go underneath it. There's like a whole maze that we can potentially go through in the morph ball. And there's a bright upgrade looking thing. And we have to go through this little electrical maze. Because there's like all these little spokes and there's electricity coming between them, and a couple of it, the electricity's yellow, whereas the rest of it is blue. So the yellow stuff will turn on and off. There's like puddles of water that blow them up. It'll short out some of the electricity. I'm getting hit by the electricity as I go through. Around. Now I'm up at the top, rolling around. And now I'm He sets off the power bomb, which erupts, it blows up the reactor. Quickly hops out with the morph ball bomb. Power bomb acquired. While in morph ball mode, press R to release a power bomb. Power bombs can destroy tougher materials than morph ball bombs. Additional data downloaded to inventory screen. So we actually don't want to go any further into the mines because significant number of upgrades. There is a save station attached to this room, however, kind of symbolizing that this is a checkpoint within the dungeon. someone's saying that the keeping of pets has been banned in the mines because the pets become exposed to Phazon and then attack the space pirates. That's pretty funny, actually. That, like, the space pirates who are, like, chaotic evil to the core, like, even they want to be able to, like, powerbomb ammunition. Oh, I guess I'll just blow up the stuff in front of the door that we're not going to go through yet, since I can just immediately replenish. So we can keep up to 4 power bombs initially, and then there's upgrades that we can get that will, I think, allow us to keep up to 8. Yeah. So now we're just gonna head on back the way we came. And as we do, one of the elite pirates in one of the labs has escaped. And it's the same type of enemy as the other one, so 3 super missiles will take it right out. We're up to 150 missiles, by the way. Have been unlocked. It's the map station. So when I hop across now, there is a bunch of Benzium blocking it. Alright, open it up. Yep, it's a map station. And fortunately, there was a box right next door with a power bomb drop, so I didn't actually spend anything to it. Just got it right back. I apologize for the nasally voice. I either got a cold or like a really bad allergy attack, so kind of stuffed up. Okay, so now we're in the tunnel. In the ventilation shaft, but we're able to blow up a thing in the bottom, and that takes us behind one of the fans, which lets us scan a thing, which actually turns the fans on, and that blows the puffers and the smog out, which detoxifies the area, and then we can get another energy tank, which is always there. And the power bomb is what we were missing to get the thing in the geothermal core in the Magmor Caverns. Of course, we're gonna have to get back there. Navigate through these space pirates first, which I'm just gonna run away from them. Not much to be gained from fighting them. So we head on up. Going back up the elevator back to Phazon Mines level 1, we can see the inside of the crater again, or the, not the inside of the crater, view of the crater from the mines. Now we have to go up shaft, mine shaft. And now we're back in that ore processing room. Now we can blow away the stuff blocking the device that we can use to connect the top level. Hop on down to the second level from the third level. And so now we're connecting the gold track. There's a red one, a blue one, and I've been listening to a podcast recently, and by a couple of former Nintendo executives. So they know a lot about how the company goes, and they've been talking about how Nintendo wants to be more of a true entertainment company. Like, Nintendo's actually a really old company. They go back to the 1800s. They sold playing cards and a number of other things, and they switched over to gaming when that became a thing. But they're talking about, like, with the Mario movie, and now there's a Zelda movie trilogy, and it really makes me think of, like, I wonder how big that is gonna get. Okay, now we've got the grapple beam. So we got up to the top, and she's got her grapple beam back. We had at the very beginning of the game. Didn't have it. We lost it. So now we can actually scan the grapple beam hooks, and that adds to our logbook. So grapple beam. So they're just like these gold things that hang down. They have a very defined shape. Now we're gonna get on out of here. This will take us out to the main quarry, but through a different path. We're going through like some water thing with the morph ball. Follow the path. Take us out. This is like the waste disposal or something. This actually takes us out to we're on like a ledge overlooking the quarry. There's a bunch of space pirates that are shooting at us. Oh, and now we're gonna like turn on the crane and stuff. So there's a path we can take up to the actual crane in this quarry, because, you know, it's a mine quarry. It's got a crane and everything in it. And there's like a control room and everything. Just have to get there. Walk along this platform. I fell off again. Not 100% sure why. Oh, I see. Okay. So I actually have to use the grapple. Let's see. Maybe I can jump from below the crane up to it. If I jump up towards the crane and there's a grapple point, the grapple beam then elevates her enough that she can swing back the direction she just came from and hop on top of the upper platform, which lets us. Cores are functional but require power. Okay, so we gotta like shoot one of those goofy red things in the way. Do that. And I think since I may have already... So, and the crane's got a big metal crate on it, and the crate is actually what the grappling hook thing is attached to. It's like a bright orange thing that it can cap. And the crane has a spider ball track on the inside of it. So, When we walk to the back of the platform where the crane is tethered to, we can roll up a spider ball track on the thing that and then go across the arm on the leg, and then go up spider ball across the arm of the crane, and then takes us over to a missile expansion, because when the crane swung over, the box swung too hard and it broke open a missile expansion. Now we're up to 155 missiles. And we have more areas where we can explore now. The next thing we're gonna go get is the X-ray visor, which is the last visor. And then we will head to places we can I may grab an arm. We're gonna head back to the town. So yeah, there's a second Mario movie coming out next year. I suspect that Mario 3D will come out with that. I think there will probably be some kind of celebration stream around the actual anniversary later this fall. But when I think of Nintendo's calendar, this goes back to the comment I made earlier, it's really important to think about that fiscal year calendar, which means that, like, Mario movie I think is coming out is coming out in the spring. Which means that, like, our calendar says that, okay, now we're in that Great Tree Hall, we're gonna go up to the top. So we came in the bottom through the pirate frigate. We've unlocked the door that connects the bottom and the top. So we're gonna keep going up. Yeah. So, actually... No, wait, I'm gonna grab the 3D the X-ray. So I'm gonna have to fight some enemies after I get it, but I realize the enemies go after I get it. Okay, so this is an interesting spider ball thing. So it wraps around like a pillar, and then there's like another pillar attached to it. So it goes up, and then there's a little piece that comes off the top that I have to drop off it, and then fall. And there's like another track that I can magnetize onto that's hanging off it. So I have to time it right so she falls off but is close enough to the second pillar that she magnetizes to that when I turn the magnetic feature back on. Now we're in a tiny little cave, and it says there's a rampant structure weakness due to water saturation. It's a benzium rock, so I can blow it up with the power bomb. Now I'm going through a morphball tunnel, and there's a half-pipe shape, and if you kind of hear that like weird noise along with the music, that means that there's an upgrade nearby, and there's like a platform. I can either skip the platform, or I can try to get on top of it, because inside the platform there's a hidden like tunnel I can fall through, and inside that tunnel there is a missile expansion. There we go. I blow up this rock in the middle, I fall through the missile expansion, and it just takes me back down to the bottom, and now I can advance on my merry way through another little tunnel, and I'm inside like a building, a circular gazebo looking kind of building, but it's totally walled. And I grab a visor, so just like with the thermal visor, she like swipes the front of her visor, it glows green for a minute, and I now have the X-ray visor, which gives me X-ray vision, just as it says, so everything will be black and white. And when I turn on the X-ray visor, all the pillars are there and they're white, but the walls disappear, which means the walls ain't real. There's an enemy that just conveniently shows up with a power bomb, but I didn't really need it, but that's in case you show up and That's in case you show up and you don't have any power bombs because you have no way to get out. I'm gonna go into this lake, and I blast open a cap. The pillar just pops out of it. There's a small little lake. This is like a grove area, and there's a morph ball spinner thing, and it causes this like plate on the bottom that's attached to this pillar to spin like a clock arm once it goes up facing the waterfall, which is putting the water, creating this little pond to begin with. It rises up, and we've got an artifact. That's always a good thing. Set it out of the pond. Here. Double jump over to the little, like, extended platform in front of it. Chozo artifact acquired. Artifact of Chozo, 7th of the 12th. So, yeah, so my expectations for next year is that it'll be the year of Mario and Zelda. So Zelda's 40th anniversary is next year. Mario's is this year. I think because you got to look at Nintendo's fiscal calendar, they're really going to want something huge to end the first year of Switch 2, because usually that adoption window, while you want it to keep going on for a long time, that first year is super, super important. I mean, like, the fact that Wii was like one of the top-selling Christmas gifts 2 years in a row was like super impressive, but I don't expect this system to be like that, so I would say by the end of the fiscal year, your Nintendo, you want a large chunk of your Switch 2 audience to already be moved over, and I think 3D Mario. So Chozo Ghost showed up, but with the X-ray visor, we can actually see them when Samus takes damage and she reaches over. You can see her bones. So they don't disappear with the X-ray visor because we can actually see them permanently. They still will, like, jet around and all that stuff, but they can't disappear on us. So just using the super missiles again. So there were 3 of them. They popped off. So I actually fell off. I have to climb up to the top of this grove. And I actually fell off when they hit me, so I have to climb up again. We see the top of the structure we came in on. There's a little Chozo head coming out of the wall, and then the beak bursts in half, so we can only see the top of it now. And there's a morph ball tunnel for us. The little enemy that always drops power bombs respawns, so take that thing out. Power bomb is back. So I suspect that the Hyrule Warriors game will come out in January or February, and that will be kind of the first year of this calendar year of Zelda. Run through the end of 2026, and then something else will come out for the holiday season. Whether that's an Ocarina of Time remake, like, I have no idea. Is that just a one-to-one? If they do that, like, is that a one-to-one remake? Do they try to make the world bigger so, like, it's got more open world than it had in the N64 days in the various remasters, which are just more of, like, upscaled versions of the original game? I mean, there's obviously, like, the Long Ranch stuff, and, you know, I remember playing that as a kid on N64, and then there's the whole, like, fishing side quest that's completely optional. There's 2 trading quests, one for Kid Link and one for Adult Link, but I mean, there really isn't, like, and then there's the challenge that is the Gerudo trading ground for the ice arrows, but there really isn't a ton of stuff. Oh, and then there's the Lon Ranch stuff, and then there's the trading quests, the fishing stuff, which you don't have to do, the Big Around Sword, and that's it, I think. So that would be intriguing. I'd expect the Mario game to be in March, probably, to finish off, start Switch 2's first year and end Switch 2's first year with the big Mario game. Mario Kart, and like regular classic Mario. Right, now we're back in the Chozo ruins. We're in that reflecting pool area. We're gonna head back to the to the Elder Hall, and there's another item we can get in there. I actually should have come back and grabbed it before, but I didn't. So, Chozo ghosts show up. There's 3 of them instead of just 1 this time. Annoying, but... There's a missile station in here actually, and I think it's here specifically because these things have a lot of health. They're probably the most annoying regular enemies in the game. The easiest way to kill them is just a super. They're gone now. I'm gonna go replenish my missiles. And I would expect Mario with the Mario movie and Zelda, so there'll probably be a big Mario Direct and then another regular Nintendo Direct in the fall. You know, really interesting to see. The podcast I was listening to, they were saying that Nintendo so we can actually turn on the ice beam, one of the warp ball slots, which will open up a new pathway for us by using the Elder statue. And the thing in the floor rolls, and it opens up just like a small little tunnel underground. It's like so now we gotta get into the statue, and Chozo Elder will help us find the next item. We just roll down, and we're in a tiny little chamber. Has an energy tank. There's a little tunnel on the way out of here. Yep. It takes us right back out. Then the thing spins back to its default position. Yeah, obviously none of this is confirmed, but it's just like if you're thinking like rationally about specifically like what are they likely to do, and what is, you know, like those are their 2 biggest franchises. Animal Crossing is huge, but I mean, a lot of their other stuff is pretty small or it's old. I mean, like, Star Fox is popular, but it's not, like, the thing is like, Nintendo's top franchises are so far above a lot of its other franchises. Okay, we're back in the furnace now, and there's actually a really tough challenge here to get a missile expansion, but we're gonna do it. Like, Mario and Zelda and stuff, they sell so much, and I mean, I think sometimes a lot of content creators from Nintendo don't realize, like, that what those games sell is just so far above what a lot of other games, like what a lot of other franchises do. And I think if you look at certain things, it's very easy to, like, overstate your own favorite sales numbers relative to other stuff. Plated Parasite, hardy member of the Parasite family, invulnerable to most weaponry. Cousin of the Parasite, these creatures are known for their amazing resilience. Field studies suggest a weakness to Morph Ball delivered weapon system. So there's like a huge Morph Ball maze, Spider Ball maze here. I'm gonna blow up a cracked piece of the floor with a power bomb, and it reveals a half pipe. But these Spider Ball tracks have these plated parasites on them. This is the only place in the this is the only place in the game where these are at. Fortunately, they don't disappear, so, but some enemies do, like those ice bat shriekers or whatever, they do. And so if you miss them, you just are locked out of getting 100%. Just fell off. Like, you know, Metroid's a nice franchise. Metroid and Fire Emblem actually sold reasonably similarly, but I feel like sometimes we overstate certain franchises based on like how long they've been in Smash and other things. Like Samus was in Smash, but Marth was not. So I feel like I saw someone saying that like Three Houses remake Three Houses doesn't deserve a Switch 2 version because Fire Emblem doesn't sell enough. And then they were like, well, Metroid is really popular and it does sell, but like and they were talking about how Metroid Dread is the like highest selling. It's like Fire Emblem Three Houses was the highest selling Fire Emblem ever, and it sold more copies than Metroid. And then they released a Warriors spin-off, and it sold 1 million, but that was basically incomplete. They cut out part. They had a third act of the story they were working on, but they realized it would be too controversial with the Japanese fan base, which is heavily factored into Fire Emblem. And so they cut it, didn't add anything to replace it, and didn't even have any DLC. And the game still sold 1 million copies in spite of that. We're trying to go up a half pipe because I fell off again. This is a hard challenge with all the enemies. If you're able to clear all the enemies off, then it becomes difficult. You know, it's challenging, but it's not that challenging. Because you just go slowly. But, so I go up like a spider ball track, and then I have to like drop on a little platform, then roll across it, but there's plated parasites going across it. And then I have to roll across another thing, drop down, roll across another spider ball track, which I'm currently doing, drop down again, roll across. Oh, I had it! I was all the way across to it, and I fell off. So I went too fast. Now I have to start all over. This is one of the more annoying missile expansions to get in the game. And that's not to say I think that like Fire Emblem is premier in the same way that Mario and Zelda are, but I think that it gets underestimated by a lot of people in terms of its popularity because it came to the West a lot later than basically all the other major Nintendo games. Star Fox, Metroid, Mario, Luigi, like all this stuff came over pretty much on on Nintendo Entertainment System or earlier, or Super Nintendo Global, and Fire Emblem did not come to Global until the Game Boy Advance era. In fact, Marth and Roy were put into Smash to market Fire Emblem to the West. People didn't know what a lot of people didn't know what it was. It has amazing, and it was basically the amazing theme music, and the fact that they were, you know, they were sword fighter characters, and so they kind of reminded people of Link, but they weren't the same as Link, and so that generated a lot of interest. And the Game Boy games actually did pretty well. You know, obviously gaming was still a very niche hobby back then. Like Fire Emblem 7 did very well for strategy game. Sacred Stone still did pretty well as well. Come on, the last 2 times I've gotten up there, I've hit one of the enemies and fallen back down. This is really irritating. The fact that I had the missile expansion and I fell off, this is one of the most annoying. I think the first time I did this, I spent 45 minutes doing this. That's really annoying. Like, this is one of the things they put in there where it's like, if you want to 100% the game, you're going to have to do something obnoxious. Track, we have now killed the parasites. Wow, that was way lucky. So I fell off the morph ball track, but it lodged me in the thing, or in like where the track met with the platform, where I shouldn't have been able to get up there, but because I was stuck up there, I couldn't fall, and I morph ball bomb hopped up to the upgrade in a way that I wasn't supposed to. Thank goodness, though, because that challenge is really annoying. Okay, so now we're back into the part of the ruins we explored when we first started playing the game. There is one more thing we can get in the Curry Hall, so we'll do that. But I think that the Fire Emblem games could be decent candidates for, if you're just looking at like sales. I think Three Houses generated a lot of discussion in the Nintendo fan base, largely because some of its characters were super controversial. I don't really want them to redo it because they already made a Warriors game for it, and just like Engage was a good game, but the story really wasn't very memorable, so people have continued talking about Three Houses because the story was so memorable, and in general, like, there just isn't anything really to debate about Engage unless it's whether it's good or bad. And that debate got really old because it really came down to, if you care about gameplay first, Engage is a great game. If you don't care about story and you care about Engage and gameplay only, Engage is a great game. If you care about gameplay first, and good gameplay is enough for you to tolerate a very simple story that has a lot of problems, it's a good game. If you're a story first player, it's not very good. Even with, it ranges from mediocre to bad, depending on how much you're willing to allow the gameplay to alleviate, make up for it. You know, for a large chunk of the newer Fire Emblem fan base, it feels like are more into stories, so I think that's why Engage was hurt. Intelligent Systems said they thought that a simpler story would be more appealing to a broad number of people, but that was just a huge misread of the fan base. But this is the same company that said they didn't think Ike was popular before they saw character polls and how much he was used in Smash, and didn't understand how a lot of the characters that were in Japan-only games were popular outside of Japan. So, like, I guess, you know, that's something to consider. But, I mean, Three Houses sold 4.2 million copies to like 3.1 million for Dread, and Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes, which is the spin-off for Three Houses, sold about the same amount as this Metroid Prime Remaster. So, I mean, it's fair to say that Metroid and Fire Emblem are relatively comparable in size. I just think that, like, the fact that Metroid features one specific character, which is Samus, definitely helps it. And then also, the fact that, oh wait, I can't go that way yet. And I think the fact that Metroid has been in Smash longer than Fire Emblem helps a lot. And the fact that I think shooter games are generally viewed as more mainstream than tactics-based games. That's the other one. So we went into the fountain area, and there's a third door that we've never been through. Mostly because I knew that the room behind it was one we couldn't go through. So now we're in the magma pool room, and to get across the magma pool, we have to use power bombs. Or not power bombs, to use the grappling hook. So there was no point in coming here before. There's this weird cracked wall with like vines all over it. We can blow that up with a power bomb. It gives us a power bomb expansion, which will increase our power bomb capacity by 1. We can now scan the Chozo lore, the power of our temple, and the 12 artifacts as sealed and evil in the depths of the planet. However, the future is cloudy to us. A world of veils where dark apparitions flit in the shadows. Within this strange world, one image stands out in the mist, flickering through the landscape wraith-like. It is a human, a lone figure shining in the toxic shadows. We Chozo do not know what it is, but our hearts swell with hope at the promise of that glowing light. place our faith in our shrine, and we will be there when the light shines upon the land. So they turned into ghosts to help me out, but then they got all corrupted from the phazon and became enemies. Okay, so we're through a little hallway. There's like a branch growing out of it, and there's a tunnel behind it somewhere. Found it. Tunnel takes me to a missile expansion, so now we're up to 5 total power bombs, and more Chozo ghosts. There's Chozo ghosts in like most of these rooms now. This is a perfect example of how as you advance through the game, the earlier areas get tougher enemies, and the Chozo ruins are definitely the worst, because the Chozo ghosts are the hardest enemies in the game. There's actually 4 of them in the room where we fought the Phazon, which is the most in the game, and they're defending an artifact, so we'll make our way through there. Yeah. So, I think that the Fire Emblem games could use Switch Communications. I just don't know if I'd want them, because the way you fix and gauges problems is there's a manga for it, which is incredible, and it really does address a lot of the issues in the plot that the original story had, which is just like there's certain characters that they really want you to like be emotionally invested in their deaths, but they don't have enough screen time to like make you really like care about them. And then there's like a sequence that divides up the first and second act of the game, which is just like handled in a really bizarre way, and it just kind of requires a suspension of disbelief on a level that a lot of fans just weren't able to. So I got an energy tank by going through like a temporary thing, and then I accidentally turned it on because defeating the Chozo ghost reveals 2 morph ball slots, and I just went into the same one twice. Because there's like a half pipe that I can use. Okay, and now that one blows open a thing, like a little statue on the wall partially blows up, and that opens up a morph ball tunnel. Now I'm going through a morph ball piston tunnel, which is like a morph ball maze. Take us out to the forum, Chozo Forum, which is plaza. And it'll actually take us out in a new entrance we haven't come out before. And we can grappling hook across for the last missile expansion. We'll take that. We're actually in perfect position to get another upgrade, as well as we're going back to that ruined shrine, and I think we have to fight Chozo. So yep. So this is where the North Ball was. There's, like, you know, there's 2 missile expansions here. I know we got at least one of them. I feel like they kind of overdid it. Like, based on my interpretation of sales, I feel like the Fire Emblem and Metroid are like really deserving of, like, if Nintendo decides to start doing like Netflix series or something else in addition to movies, like, I don't really know if Fire Emblem. Okay, so we did get both of those. Or Metroid really deserve a movie. Like, I feel like a TV series for Samus where she's just doing different, like, fighting the space pirates and different stuff and just doing different missions, and they kind of slowly, like, weave together, and she like slowly gets up to like fighting against like one of the, oh, I fell off, so I'm gonna have to start over. Could be cool. With Fire Emblem, the thing about that series is because it's like one of these RPG series where like you have different main characters like every game or two. And in fact, they haven't done a new game where it was the same main character since the GameCube weekends. They remade Marth's games, but those games sold so bad. The first one sold so bad they didn't even put the second one out in global. The only way to play it is to get a ROM and then download a translation patch to whatever language you speak. And then every game since then has had new main characters. The Awakening, which was kind of the game that was originally intended to be a farewell game for the franchise, they poured a bunch of resources and money into it because that's all they had. And it did really well, kind of like how Star Wars was George Lucas's like last attempt at trying to be his own director before he went and worked for someone else, and it was so successful he went on to have the career that he had. Or Final Fantasy is literally called Final Fantasy because Square Enix was, it was called Square at the time. They were running out of money, and they were, so they put all their money into Final Fantasy, and it was so successful it saved their company. Alright, so we went through, we're in a tower room, and there's a pool, and we went through it, and there's like a door in the back underwater that takes us to a small little room that has a artifact. Chozo artifact required. Artifact of Life Giver, 5th to 12th. I guess we've got a beacon? Seismic activity, updated. Usual activity in magma. Yep, and this is that geothermal core. So I'm just doing things in the order that I think will get me through the game quickest, which isn't the order that the game tells you. So like in reality, you get everything. If you want to play the game through like linearly, you get everything and then you go back and get all the artifacts. So we're hopping up a bunch of platforms here, and we see that this tower has like a bunch of spaces in between it because it's the sun tower, so there's like spaces in the walls where the sun can come in, and there's like cracked walls. There's the pillars that hold up the different sections in between the gaps are cracked. And we can destroy them with missiles. It takes 3 regular missiles and 1 super missile, which costs 5. There's actually a couple of enemy species in here we need to scan that can't be found anywhere. I know one of them, but this can't be found anywhere else. And then that leads to cracks. Power partially comes down. So yeah, the armored puffer.
Recorded to logbook.
Plated puffer. Mutated puffer with reinforced epidermis. Phase-on exposure created a mutant strain of puffers on Talon 4. They developed plated skin, making them harder to burst. Concussive weapons can still do the job, however. The gases in the plated puffer is just as deadly as that.
Recorded to logbook.
Oculus. Wall crawler that generates electric pulses. The Oculus exposes its single eye when active. The electrical field that covers it is enough to deter predators. The Oculus detects anything capable of committing a real strikes. So we can't actually kill these things. They're literally just enemies that are designed to reflect off our missiles, so we can't blow up the eyes. See, that literally just reflects off. So those are just there to get you to waste missiles. If you're not confident in your ability to aim, you're better off just using the super missiles and taking the extra hit to your inventory. If you are patient, you can just use the 3 missiles as normal. And then there's these like tubes that the plated puffers will come out of, and they'll start spawning once that section of the tower has come down. And we're not actually collapsing the whole tower, we're just bringing it somewhat down. It's not that structure. No. In the first section, none of the stuff had the enemies on it reflecting our missiles. In the second section, 2 of them did, and now all of them. So it gets steadily harder to destroy the weapons. I actually ran out of missiles here. Playthrough. That was deeply frustrating. I had to go find more and come back. Alright. Pops down, the platforms come down a little bit. You can now hop up to the top platform of this tower. The wall has got some break in it so we can see the light. And we get the wave concussor, I think? It's like the wave beam equivalent to the super missile, but it's a wave buster. Basically, it's a flamethrower, but it's electricity, and it latches on to whatever enemy it is. So, really, but the problem is that unlike the super missile, which just uses up 5 missiles, the wave buster will just shoot endlessly and just continue to drain your missiles until you're out. So now we're done in that area. We're at 90% logbook entry and 70% total items collected. Chozo goes pop back up, but they don't lock the doors on us, so we can. Now we want to head back through the area where originally, the first time you get the missile launcher, because that was Cave's elevator, which we can also use to go through there. We now have the equipment to go back up that tower we jumped off way back at the beginning when we fought the Flagra. We couldn't go back. Now that we have the super missile and the spider ball and the X-ray visor, super missile, we can easily get that. Artifact in the sun chamber, which will also open up the way to get through to it. It'll open up the way to get through there from the Arboretum again. It's been sealed off since the boss fight started. Once we get down to Magmore, we'll save it. Yeah, so I have a feeling that next year will be a huge year for Mario and for Zelda because of that fiscal calendar. And I think smaller stuff like Mario, Star Fox, Metroid, like a lot of these Luigi's Mansion could get a game in October for the holiday season. It feels like a perfect, like, Halloween kind of lead into holiday season kind of game. The Luigi's Mansion series doesn't have that many games, but they all have sold pretty well. Well, the first one I think was a little niche, but they marketed the second and the third one a lot better, and they sold excellently. Alright, now we got 4 of these B-masts. Annoyingly, they're going to spawn a bunch of these right away, and then we have to take them. Unfortunately, they don't really do that much damage. It's their early. Alright, so now we have to scan some rooms. 2 of them are up on the top of pillars. So we've got like a pillar area, like a larger base with pillars, and then in the middle, like, there's a smaller circular way up. So 2 of them are like up near the ceiling on pillars, and then 2 of them are hidden behind plates that we can, like, decorative plates on the walls that we can blow up with super missiles. Okay, we're down to 35 missiles left. That opens up like a door that was covering part of the spider ball track that takes us back up to the top. Then we have to bomb hop, but there's enemies blocking our way, so we just fell back down to the bottom. We got a bomb hop up to like another like block in the wall that has spider ball track. Then we have to bomb hop up a second time, and that actually blows up the thing we're currently on. So it'll respawn if we fall back to the bottom. And then we bomb hop up to a third spider ball block. No! I fell off. Oh, we're on the first one of these 3 explodable blocks. Now we're on to the third one. These enemies are those like invincible weird things that reflect your stuff. So we come into the hallway to head back to the sun chamber. We actually see a Chozo ghost, but the Chozo ghost runs away. And we can hear them like communicating with each other, I guess. Now we walk back through this hallway here. And we see the flower that Flager used to live in, and there's like weird stuff spraying out of it. And we get 4 Chozo ghosts? Maybe it's only 3. And they are zipping all around. On top of the sun discs that we use to stop Flagra from being invincible. We are almost out of missiles. Fortunately, we have taken out 2 of the ghosts. And that would be all of them. Oh, I'm out of... I got 4 left out of 160. The vines that were previously covering the original way we came in here have disappeared. I'm now up to 7 missiles. So, hopefully we'll get some more. And we grab the artifact on the flower. So we're done in this room now. I think I've gotten everything in the Chozo room. It's the artifact of the wild, the 4th of 12. I think that's everything in the Chozo rooms. For Fire Emblem, the thing about movies with Fire Emblem is like there's so many main characters. Like the company would probably love to go with Marth. He's kind of the mascot of the franchise. He's pretty popular in Japan, though I think there's probably other characters that are more popular than him. He didn't win the opening round of Choose Your Legends. I think it was until like the 3rd round of that, which was the Fire Emblem mobile game. And back in those days, the Fire Emblem Heroes fanbase really did better reflect the whole franchise fanbase and not just kind of its own subset. Whereas now, because Faye is so expensive, a lot of the people that play Fire Emblem Heroes kind of have a different, are their own unique subset of the Fire Emblem fanbase. You don't, so, and, they're far more into, like, very specific, like, niche characters and things like that. They're still fans of all the big main characters, but I think if you're gonna make a movie out of a franchise like that, you need to figure out what game has the characters that you can market to a broad audience that hasn't had a ton of exposure to your franchise. Like, that's what Nintendo's gonna have to figure out with these movies if they decide they want to start looking at some of their smaller IPs. I think you could probably make a movie with Metroid, but it would have to be, you know, it's not gonna be rated, like, for, you know, E for everyone or whatever the rating is for, G for general audiences. It's gonna be something that's, because she's gonna be fighting space pirates. Space pirates do brutal stuff. There's gonna be blood and all sorts of stuff. I mean, Fire Emblem's problem is, like, what character is the one that will sell in enough markets to making a movie work? Making a movie is so expensive. You know, Ike is super popular in the West, and Marth isn't. You know, does Ike have the same popularity in Japan now with Smash Bros. And all the other stuff he's been in that he didn't when his games came out. I think Radiant Dawn, his game for Wii, is the only game in Fire Emblem history that sold more copies in the United States than it's sold in Japan. Now, I believe FE outsells Japan globally just because there's so many markets now, but back then it wasn't in as many markets, and I'm fairly certain it was like, it sold something like 300,000 copies, and it was like 180,000 in America, and like 120 in Japan. Now, the theme for that game is actually a thing we can do here with the X-ray visor in this room. We're in the caverns now. I said I'd be done, but I'm gonna keep going. There are some invisible platforms that we can jump onto, which will take us around like a, you know, we're over an area. There's a pillar that we can blast open part of it, and there's a missile expansion. You know, I don't know if Ike has the, I don't know enough about what the Japanese fans specifically want. I know they love, like, Avatar characters, and that's why those have been so prominently featured in the last few games. But, like, does Ike have the staying power that, like, the movie would sell tickets in every market? His story about, like, a mercenary who's got, like, a, you know, father who secretly has a, you know, was like a general in an army, and then he left because if his father got involved in a whole big thing, and then Ike himself becomes embroiled in it, and he ends up, like, being a shining example in a world of bigotry and hate against, you know, like, that is a very American story, and so if you understand what Ike is, you understand that, like, I think when you look at games, and I think that, like, that Expedition 33 that just came out, like, it made in France, and people are saying, like, you know, the same podcast I was listening to, I think it's Kit and Krista, they were saying, like, this game feels like a French game. Like, Fire Emblem always feels very Japanese, except for Ike. Ike does not feel Japanese. Ike feels like an American character placed in a Japanese game. Just, like, he's very brash. He's very, like, he's not really well respective of, like, tradition. He doesn't care about any of that stuff. He thinks it's all nonsense and BS. And, you know, he turns down power repeatedly, which is kind of like a George Washington kind of thing, a Cincinnatus kind of thing, which, you know, and, you know, like, you know, and he's, like, someone who's, like, always advocating for, like, treating people based on their own merits and stuff. Like, he's very much the epitome of, like, the idealized best that American culture can produce. And, like, his best, and so, you know, so I just went back to the shrine where the artifact of the warrior was, and I blew open part of the altar, and it drops me down into a small little room, with a power bomb expansion. Sorry, I was talking a bit about Fire Emblem there. Now there's got to be a way out of here. Here we go. There's a tunnel I can bump up into. And then, and how close are we? Gotta go through this. So he's kind of like very American, which makes it understandable as to why that his games would sell better in the West than they did in Japan, because his story is, like, very relevant to stuff that Americans have studied about their own history in class, and that's not necessarily as much in other countries, just because of the multi-ethnic nature of America. So I'd be intrigued. Like, I think his game would make a really good movie, but I just wonder, like, how well would it do outside of markets where his story kind of ties in with the local international myths, because his games did not do well in the past. I know that people are very excited to play Path of Radiance on the Switch 2 NSO, though the price of entry is high, so unless you're buying that subscription to do other things too. Path of Radiance really isn't worth it. It has a lot of performance issues and how slow the game plays and stuff. Like, I love Path of Radiance. I love Ike. Like, he's someone we should all aspire to, like, not be caught up in nonsense and, to just be the best person you can and, help people and, be tough, but be tough in a positive way. Like, stand up for people and to stand up against, like, bad people. Like, there's all this conversation about, like, toxic masculinity. Well, Ike is, like, positive masculinity. Ike is a superhero. He's the kind of guy that, people who are looking for that manly, heroic ideal in a video game that is, like, done well and done for good, that should look at. So we're in the geothermal core now, and there's these huge pillars that are, like, pumping magma, I guess. And there's, like, corkscrew things on them, and we can use a morph ball spinner to, like, move the corkscrews up a little bit. And then we're gonna hop from one to the next. So we're able to use a grappling hook thing to get onto them. And then we're gonna hop back on top of the platform we just raised to go up to the third one. And when we raise all these things up, the end of their little screws, then there's some kind of a... Okay, there's a little morph ball, spider ball track. Oh, no, what are we doing? What are we doing, Sam? What? Then I hop across. I use the spider ball to go up a little more onto, like, the ones I raised up, and then there's, like, and then all of a sudden the platform starts spinning and they push the ceiling even higher. And it reveals a massive spider ball track all along the ceiling that will take me to a room way at the top. Well, lots of bomb hopping from one track to the next. And I can see there's, like, a platform with a door that's got some power bomb benzium rubble in front of it. So we do that. And then we're going along track. We're hopping from one to the next. In some cases, the tracks are, like, oh, actually, there's some of these plated parasites here. But we can't actually scan them, so it doesn't matter. Whereas, like, one track inside of another. In some cases, I'm hopping from one platform up to another to roll across, only to now drop down and then hop down. Then I have to like drop down and then turn the magnetism back on, so that I can latch onto the one right below it without falling into the magma. So now I'm going across, like, this big track that actually looks a little different from all the others that we've ever seen, because it has, like, some black shiny stuff next to it, but it's magnetized too, so it doesn't matter. And then we roll across, and then we have to drop way down. That's a really scary drop. And now we're back onto another big one where it's, like, multi-layered. Go across. There's, like, I hop up and then slightly to the right, then hop up again, then slightly to the right, then hop up. Then I roll across, and there's this platform with an ice beam door with rubble in front of it. And I blow the rubble up. I open the door, and I'm in this huge magma, this small-ish room that's got, like, a big platform in the middle underneath some kind of device, and there's, like, tanks of plasma on the side, and then we get the plasma beam. Plasma beam is the strongest beam in the game. You can can open red doors now, which we haven't seen that many of those yet. I think there's one where we didn't go up to it. So the beam cannon extends out really long, and there's like these red magma-looking things sticking out of it. The plasma beam is super strong, and it fires like crazy fast too. Let's see, there's one other thing I think we didn't get that I need to get before we finish up. I just don't want to forget it. It's the ice beam missile combo weapon. Ice spreader, I think is what it's called. We're gonna have to go back a little bit. It's okay. So like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, because the other issue with Marth is that Marth isn't that popular outside of Japan. I think that's why a Fire Emblem Gate movie would be difficult to do. And then the newer games, like Three Houses, what made Three Houses cool was that you picked your house, and then you fought the other ones, and they did, and they did a similar thing for Fates, only they had 2 houses instead of 3. But the golden ending they did for Fates, where the main character is able to like convince all the other characters that hate each other to work together, like that doesn't exist in Three Houses because the criticism of the Fates was that the golden ending was handled poorly and it just felt really contrived and it didn't make sense why the characters were working together, and the writing wasn't very good. So they didn't do a golden ending for Three Houses, though there's rumors that supposedly they were going to do one in the Warrior spinoff, but some of the fans were going to be mad about that, and because there was a different main character in Warriors, so they decided against adding in that portion of the plot. And there's clear evidence that there's like places in the plot where they're like, oh, they rewrote this because like the way this was going didn't make sense for them to not all team up, the main characters. And it's like, oh, the next arc would have been them all working together. And also, it's like they defeat the bad guys, but they never actually see the bad guys dead. They just like fall off a cliff, and it's like, how many times have you ever watched anything where it's like, oh, and the bad guy fell off a cliff, and you know, that's got to be the end of him, right? And then it's like, oh, actually, new movie, guy's back. He's, you know, got a mangled something or other, and got a new suit. Maybe his, you know, he's got a injury, but you know, the dude's back. He's wearing a new outfit, and he's got like some kind of a, you know, metal arm or something because, you know, he got it. You know, his arm got hurt in the last fight, but you know, the villain's back, and it feels like that's the case because it's like all of the stories end with just unresolved stuff. And if you wanted to make a movie out of Three Houses, you would probably have to have all the characters work together, because if you didn't, then you would basically be saying, the developers would be saying, this is the version of the story that we think should be canon, and the whole point was that all 3 of them are canon, contingent on what the player chooses. So the only way to fix that conundrum, but then if you create a new story where they all work together that isn't in the game, all that's going to do is make people mad, because then they're going to say, why wasn't this just in the game? Especially if it's good. If it's good and it's not in the game, and they don't add it, and they don't create a Switch 2 version of the game and add that in, then people are going to be like, wait, you could have just done this and made it work, and it probably wouldn't have ruined the game at all. And if it's bad, people are going to be mad because they're going to say, wait a minute, this, you ruined, you know, you tried to do more with this than you should have. We're back in the geothermal core, and we got the, I think we got the ice one, didn't we? Maybe we did. Maybe I blew up the thing and then walked away. I'll have to go check. Oh, I can do that right now. Okay, I did that. I blew open the tunnel and then the thing. So the ice spreader is on a little platform underneath one of these bridges that the space pirates created, and you have to blow off the windows and then jump down, and it's on there. I blew off the windows and then turned around and wasn't paying attention. So, Anyway, so, like, that's what would make it controversial. Fates' story is super controversial and, probably wouldn't do well either. And then some of the other stories are just, like, basic or too complicated. Fire Emblem, the old Fire Emblem games that are Japan only still, the only, they deal with a lot of themes that I just think Nintendo wouldn't want to put in their modern stuff, especially in like a movie format, which is probably geared more towards families. So those games are probably out. I think the GBA games just, there's too much stuff going on, and there's too many, and like, I guess Roy could be, he's in Smash. His story's pretty simple. There's a lot of exposition they can add in, and it really, as long as and I think they made an anime out of that too, but it's old and whatnot. You know, so they could add stuff in if they wanted to, or change things. I think it, you know, and all right, so I can jump down, and there's like a little platform underneath that has the ice spreader. So that's with that. I really think that the two candidates, though, are probably, you know, Sacred Stones has a really simple story about a pair of twins whose kingdom gets conquered, and then they, you know, come to realize that, you know, the empire that conquered them, that they had formerly been allies with, has been like the minds of the leadership have all been taken over by a demon king that was unsealed because they were trying to use his power to stop an impending natural disaster, and all he did was to take control of them. Then there's this whole war, and it's kind of like, okay, it's like a simple fantasy story. You know, it's a good game for like the Game Boy Advance era, but I'm not sure that like that's a compelling enough thing for an adaptation for a feature film. You know, because if you're making some of these movies, like I think Nintendo could be gearing towards like a Marvel-verse thing. And like some of the Marvel movies, you know, while they all generally appeal to the same broader fandom, some are more mature than others and whatnot. And I really think that if Nintendo goes in that direction, some of these more mature or more niche fan bases, like they're gonna want to have that Nintendo seal of approval on the movie that will be built up over the course of years, like with Zelda and Mario and other things, so that you can start introducing some other more casual or newer audiences to these IPs. And I think Metroid and Fire Emblem in particular would be more mature rated films, just based on like the fact that there's more violence and stuff in them. I think Zelda you can pretty easily adapt down to a G-rated or a PG-rated audience, just given that there's a lot to work with there with Zelda. I'm not really sure there's as much. It would be harder to adapt something like Metroid or Fire Emblem to probably anything lower than PG-13, given the things that those franchises feature. I mean, Fire Emblem is basically about medieval combat and romance. Neither of those are like G-rated things, unless you really want to really like Disney-fy it, and I think that would anger the traditional fan base, which would be a portion of the people that you're counting on to show up, and to then turn around and tell people to go out and see your movie. And then Metroid would just be like a sci-fi action movie, and that's probably not going to be, especially given like how awful the space pirates are and stuff. All right, so here's an example of how powerful the plasma beam is. We got some flying pirates. Well, the first time you shoot it, if you shoot it, the guy catches on fire. If you shoot him with a charge beam, they literally just melt. Like they just fall down and they turn bright orange and they disappear. That's how powerful this beam is. So yeah, it'll be really interesting to see. Obviously they've got the theme park angle going too, but I'll be curious if they're hoping to turn some of these, you know, franchises that sell between like 2 and 4 million units for their new games and, you know, 1 million with their remasters into more like trying to get as close as they can to like those Zelda numbers. I mean, the Nintendo like party games and true multiplayer stuff like Mario Kart will always be like well ahead of a lot of other stuff. I think Animal Crossing also shocked everyone with how much it sold, but some of these single-player franchises could probably increase their value depending if they figured out who they were targeting and Nintendo incorporated them into their broader plan. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with those. We've saved our progress. We've got some more missile expansions and stuff we can collect. We've now got the plasma beam. We've got the X-ray visor. And we've got the grapple beam and the power bombs, so we're pretty much ready to assault the inner sanctum of the space pirates and the Phazon mines. There's not a lot of like true upgrades left to get. It's mostly just expansions for power bombs and missiles. So we've got 185 missiles. There's still like 65 more missiles to collect, and I think 2 more power bomb expansions to collect. So that's a decent amount. And then there's, I think, 1 or 2 more energy tanks. So, yeah. So thank you so much for joining us. I know this one went a little longer. I was rambling a little bit about Nintendo movies, which, you know, I'm excited for. I haven't seen the Mario movie. I may go out. I'll probably try and see it, and I may go and see the Mario 2 movie in theaters. I saw the Sonic movies, which were great. That Nintendo really should be probably looking at what that franchise has done when they want to expand for some of their other franchises. I think Mario has a pretty safe and easy story to adapt, and there's a lot of stuff. But with some of their other franchises where some of the entries are just vastly superior to others, which is really the way Sonic is, where some of the games are incredible or were incredible for their time and still have stories that are adaptable to make good movies, versus some stuff which is like, yeah, we don't ever need to touch that again. You know, they should be looking at that, because I think putting in the, like, cheesy nostalgia stuff in a way that appeals to, like, people in their 30s and 40s, but also isn't so important that it turns off the young kids who don't know that stuff, if they're not someone who's, like, gone back and bought the Steam versions of these games and played them, was really key. Like, the way they adapted Sonic 3 was great. I might talk more about that in the next video. So, thank you so much for coming. Feel free to like, subscribe, and comment. Let me know what you think Nintendo should do with their movies if you are into that stuff. So, yeah, thank you so much, and we'll be back with more Nintendo talk and Metroid Prime Remaster here on the channel. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful rest of your day.